Namaskar and welcome to Sunset Television. I am Vishal Dahiya and you're watching our show In Focus, where we bring you detailed analysis of key national and international issues. Today we're going to talk about digital economy and G20. Now, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, that is METI, is organizing the second in-person meeting of G20 Digital Economy Working Group, DEWG, in Hyderabad from 17th of April to 19th of April. Now, experts from various fields deliberated on high-speed mobile broadband and its impact on the society, digital inclusion and sustainable green digital infrastructure, challenges and opportunities as well. First meeting of the G20 DEWG was held in February this year, setting the tone for productive and meaningful deliberations in the future course of meetings as well. The DEWG priority areas have been clearly identified under India's G20 presidency, that is digital public infrastructure, cybersecurity in the digital economy and digital skilling as well. In fact, in recent years, digital technologies have been the driving force of greater productivity, efficiency and innovation in the economy. Digital economy has also created a strong demand for digitally proficient workforce. So today we'll take a closer look at all these aspects of digital economy and specifically what kind of collaborative approach are the G20 member countries, organizations are looking forward to when we're talking about this aspect. And for more on this, we're joined by a distinguished panel of experts. Let me first introduce them to you, beginning with Mr. A.K. Bhattacharya is joining us here, Editorial Director of Business Standard. We also have with us Professor Charan Singh, CEO of EGROW Foundation, and Dr. Subhash Chandra Pandey, former Special Secretary and Financial Advisor in the Ministry of Commerce and Industry with the Government of India, is also with us. Welcome, all of you gentlemen, to Sunset Television. Let me begin with, Mr. Bhattacharya, and we'll take the other panelists as well on board on this. But let's first start by establishing, what consists digital economy. It's not a very new concept, but it's not very old as well. And it looks like, the ambit of digital economy is increasing with each passing day.
Absolutely. I think you hit the nail on its head. Digital economy is no longer to be seen in one corner of the economy. It is impacting each and every aspect of economic activity in today's India, today's world. And so therefore, it's good to see how digital economy has correctly acquired the kind of salience where India's G20 presidency is seeing these kind of meetings to appreciate and analyze what the opportunities and what the challenges are going to be. Just to give you an example, that good old manufacturing still survives, thrives, prospers, but that manufacturing today is getting touched, modified, enhanced, amplified by the digital economy.
Okay.
So it will be very important for us to see digital economy not in itself and of itself, but also in how it is impacting the manufacturing sector, how it is impacting the whole economy as such.
Okay.
So therefore, it's a good move, number one.
Okay.
And number 2 point I would make is this, that as you rightly pointed out, that the digital economy means focus on digital infrastructure, focus on cybersecurity, and 3, focus on the kind of workforce that we need to create and train to make India an even more potent force in the world of tomorrow.
Okay, digital skilling, that's what you're pointing out, and we'll have to look at digital economy from a larger perspective as well. Dr. Charan Singh, 3 priority areas, as Mr. Bhattacharya was also referring to, for this DEWG G20 meeting are digital public infrastructure, digital skilling and cybersecurity in the digital domain as well. Now, when we look at these 3, digital public infrastructure, and I'm talking from an Indian perspective, we seem to have done very well. We have various examples where we can show that, yes, we have put in place a robust infrastructure out there. Digital skilling also, there has been a lot of work going on. Cybersecurity also is an area where a lot of work has gone on. But In terms of challenges, what more can be done? Because when you attach digital to anything, it involves technology, and technology keeps on changing every day.
There's no doubt about it. There's a very big challenge involved with digital. And look at the speed with which transactions are taking place now. And that is very scary, especially because I've had worked in the bank for various years. And I also feel the movement, the swiftness with which money moves is so scary that if you need to correct it, it's almost impossible. Earlier, I used to think it's only the email systems. But then when you have implied and applied the technology to the banking area and the movement of the money and the scale at which the money is moving across the planet is also very scary. And therefore, it's so important that the major challenge I think in the banking sector is, or the financial sector is, that firstly, of course, I think when the transaction takes place, if there is a movement when you can recheck the transaction, and that's why I feel very good. In India, we have the OTP system. So the password come, you're doing a digital transaction, it'll come on a different instrument or on your cell phone. It gives you 30 seconds to think, okay, is this what I really wanted? But these sort of checks and balances are very important because the movement becomes extremely fast under digital banking. The connectivity that has happened now under the JAM Trinity, that means the financial inclusion and those segments which were not really bank savvy earlier now have access to the technology on their cell phones. The internet banking again, which gives you of course the comfort, but then you're working from a different place, very different from what was happening when you especially go to the branch and conduct the business. Similarly, the conduct of business happening at ATMs, each one of them are examples in internet and technology coming together and making banking easy. The movement of financial services improve, but then each one of them has a risk involved with it. So the challenge is that how to ensure that these things, these transactions, the movement of funds happen on a very alert mind.
Safe experience for the end consumer.
Exactly. And to do that, various schemes have been done. One is the OTP, which I mentioned to you. The other which is being experimented is that when you push in the password or you punch in the password, the numerals will not follow a standard pattern, but the numerals will change on the keyboard. And moment that happens, you are alert again. Or when a certain amount of transaction is conducted beyond a threshold level or which is beyond the normal level that you would transact, you probably would get a call from the call center saying that, are you doing this transaction? That makes you alert. So this is something which all over the world we need to examine the challenges with the swiftness with which money is taking and how to ensure that proper alert transactions take place.
Okay, and just to ensure that the entire concept of digital economy, the transactions involved are safe from all aspects, all ends as well. Dr. Pandey, I'd like to bring you on these two aspects, digital public infrastructure and digital skilling as well, because that seems to have, and again from an Indian perspective, that seems to have changed a lot of things. The way, we look at various concepts in terms of the workforce, digitally skilled workforce, and also the public infrastructure, whether Aadhaar-based DBT or perhaps, there are other examples of digital public infra as well.
Yes. On this point, I think I'll take off from what Mr. Bhattacharya was telling about, that the dichotomy about digital economy being seen as a distinct compartment of the economy. There is a digital economy and there is a brick and mortar physical economy. That kind of a dichotomy is no longer.
Those lines are blurring very quickly.
Actually, digital is a layer encompassing all segments of economy. So it is digitally enabled economy from manufacturing, selling, trading, investing, moving, everything. So for if it permeates every sphere of economy, naturally it will have implications for the skill levels of workforce and wider adaptation by citizenry for accessing government services, etc. So safety, etc., like Professor Charan Singh was mentioning. So there are this digital skilling and digital literacy is at various levels. One is at a very lowest level, vulnerable groups, that they have functional literacy and they are using it with care and caution, so they are not defrauded. At the other end of the spectrum is the high-end digital literacy, where you are creating a future-ready workforce which knows artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, machine learning, and how these processes are now increasingly embedded in manufacturing and logistics, supply chain management. So the spectrum is very wide, from very basic level functional ki how to use social media responsibly or digital payment channels responsibly, to creating the future ready. And therefore, the public infrastructure, just as the highways, rail, ports, etc., create physical infrastructure which are public funded, and they facilitate business ecosystem. So, like Aadhaar based payment system which facilitate KYC, which increase the speed of transaction. So it all has a benefits for stakeholders in economy, and therefore it is digital public infrastructure. Just as the government has funded highways, so it is funding digital highways and making the speed of transactions faster and secure.
And perhaps the best example of digital public infrastructure was during the COVID periods, the CoWIN platform.
Yes.
We showed it to the world that this is how it is done, not only swiftly but also accurately, and that too in troubled times like the COVID pandemic. But coming to this combination, Mr. Bhattacharya, between public infrastructure, digital public infrastructure, and also digital skilling. You are earlier mentioning, how sectors like manufacturing or other sectors of the economy would also, in the near future, would see a lot more, this juxtaposition with the digital economy aspects. Digital skilling, that part, how does it change for the real physical part of the economy?
Absolutely. I think we have to recognize that the two are interlinked. Digital public infrastructure and digital skilling. The two are probably, in my view, are actually two sides of the same coin. And why two sides of the same coin? Because if you create public infrastructure, it is equally important to create a vibrant community of skilled people in society who can actually take advantage of it and then work on it and gain advantages, economic and otherwise, for the country. Now, what may happen, and the danger is that if you ignore this other softer side of public infrastructure for digital area, which is creating a manpower, strengthening the educational institutions in a manner that they produce more digitally literate workers, then you will not be able to reap the full advantages of this digital public infrastructure. Now, because we had this large population in India who are literate in terms of speaking English, and also they are savvy in terms of technology, that you see that the embrace and the adoption of the UPI system or the DBT system, the triple jam, the jam unity of Janadhar, Aadhaar and mobile, it happened because of the kind of people we have. Now,
so the demographic dividend.
Now, this will be further be useful and be more create a more effect, positive effect for the economy if you expand the skilling area. Now, there is one point I would like to say and end there, is that digital economy has already given the country a position in the Global Committee of Nations, where India's UPI system is being sought out from the world. There are 50 countries which want the UPI system to be adopted. And finally, the services exports of India are now relying hugely on this digital economy, and almost around 20% of India's services exports are directly connected not with software but with business services, which rely on a thriving digital economy. So it's very, very critical for us.
Very critical and very interlinked as well. It's not something which could have been looked at or then perhaps planned in in the due course of time as well. But Dr. Chansing, as Mr. Bhattacharya was referring to, I'd like to bring you on that aspect. Indian with the way of dealing with things with digital economy, putting a sort of an example to the world. UPI systems is one. The CoWIN platform during pandemic was the other. So if you look at it from that perspective, and we are talking about this working group having these discussions at G20 platform, where it is India's presidency, what sort of international collaborative approach are we looking forward to in the space of digital economy?
To me, there are 3-4 very critical areas. One of it, the one which you've mentioned, the direct benefit transfers that happened under the JAM Trinity. And I would say the starting of that happened in 2014 with the Jan Dhan account system. And once we had brought in that about 46 crore people who didn't have a bank account and connected them with Aadhaar and then the mobile internet network, we found that we could do the direct benefit transfers. Now this, I think, is an important thing which for the rest of the world also, especially least developed countries and other emerging countries, where there is a segment of the market which is not very well connected with the banking system, but they have the resources and they did not have where to place them, now that has been brought in. I think that is very, very important. The other, of course, is the UPI, which of course is very, very unique to India. What we have done is under the UPI, the OTP system which we have is a very safeguarded system and shows that the transactions are properly being done and there is a cybersecurity already involved in it. The other areas which I think can play a very important role, and this was experimented at Bangalore when I was a professor at IIM, is tele-education and telemedicine.
Okay.
Sitting in IIM Bangalore, we could conduct classes in the remote parts of Karnataka, in the local languages. And I've gone both, the place from where they are being done, the teachers are sitting, and the place where the students are sitting. Similarly, the telemedicine system. In the remote part of the villages, you have the public health center, and the Apollo hospital is providing you the doctor's services, and therein somebody who's a technician and digitally skilled is able to not only provide connectivity to the patient, but also do some basic tests, which can all again be transmitted digitally to the doctor, and the doctor is able to understand, do the basic diagnostics, and then prescribe correctly the medicines.
Okay.
I think the tele-education and telemedicine, if this is universally accepted and applied, not only in India but other countries where literacy is a very important thing or where medical facilities are lacking, this will be a great help for the nations, as well as also encourage lots of education and medical tourism in our own country. So that should be an area which I think India needs to explore and showcase to the world that we are experimenting very successfully with this cutting edge things.
Okay. Dr. Pandey, in your views, what is it that the world can learn from us? And here we're talking about G20, so of course, the member countries who are deliberating, or the organizations, trying to find solutions to the questions which are there, the challenges which are there. And also, what is it that we can learn from perhaps, some of the developed economies or places where digital economy has gained momentum?
I think I would supplement Professor Singh's highlighted areas to point out where is the biggest potential in terms of this you mentioned about health, education, social services. In terms of a direct economic growth, 3 areas. One is the financialization of savings. Worldwide, about 75% of adults are having access to formal banking services, another financial system. In India, already 3 years ago, we had crossed 80% more than, now it is close to 85%. So the financialization of the informal economy, we are having an opportunity to save, spend, borrow through digitally managed. It has great macroeconomic implications for a resource-starved country like ours, which seek to tap household financial savings and foreign savings for financing deficits for corporates and governments. So that is a point number 1. Second is the digital lending. Connected with that is the our credit to GDP ratio is hardly about 50%, and the kind of a growth that we have to register to improve per capita income. this credit GDP ratio has to increase manifold. That means the informal systems which have denied access to credit, how this can be formalized. The digital payments creating a credit history through digital.
Perhaps a recent step by RBI where
Yes.
credit cards and the
Yeah.
payments were taken into MBIT.
Yes. No, we are seeing that how UPI, for example, debit cards are on the decline, UPIs, there is a whole lot of churning going in this
The
sector.
UPI transactions
Yeah.
is also taken into consideration
Yeah.
there. That's the newest change.
And the last budget, which is the recent entrant to say, but it is going to be a big game changer in a big way, both for business as well as for governance.
Okay.
It is like e-rupee, conditional transfers for MSMEs, etc., business ecosystem, where a person with a particular voucher goes and then it can be encashed at particular stores with particular vendors. It has a huge multiplier effect on the economy.
Okay, and that's an issue which it's great that you brought it in. Otherwise, I would have gone in for final concluding comments from Mr. Bhattacharya on this as well, because that is an issue where most of the economies, developed economies, central banks are grappling with that aspect, because that involves both digital public infrastructure as well as the cyber security issues in the digital economy.
I think that definitely digital economy should look at the idea of the e-rupee and how it can facilitate and businesses and also bring down the cost of doing business and improve the ease of doing business. There's no doubt about it.
Okay.
But you asked a very, very interesting question to Dr. Pandey about what can we contribute to this G20 debate on the digital commerce side. And I would like to make a simple suggestion that how the digital commerce and digital economy provides an opportunity for the world to relook at the way the services sector is operating across the world.
Okay.
There is a reluctance on the part of many developed countries. Many of them are members of G20 who are little wary of opening up the services sector. Digital economy is an opportunity, in my view, for opening up the services sector so that the kind of the medical services that Dr. Wadhwa was talking about should be extended by Indian doctors to patients in the UK, to patients in the United States of America.
Okay.
And because India has got qualified doctors, medical services, educational services, now they can use digital economy to provide those services, and the globe, the world will be a more integrated place to live in with greater benefits and cost advantages. I think that's a lesson that we must learn from digital economy, and maybe G20 can facilitate that.
The forum for that. And in fact, it has a very, very huge transformative potential when we're talking about that. Thank you so much, Mr. Bhattacharya, Dr. Charan Singh as well, Dr. Pandey also for sharing your valuable inputs and insight. Running short of time, but as our experts pointed out very clearly, the importance of digital economy and the kind of importance it is gaining vis-a-vis various aspects of the economic culture or the economy of not only our country but on a global scale as well. And the G20 platforms gives an opportunity to all these member nations and organizations to come together and find solutions to the challenges in various aspects, including cybersecurity, digital public infrastructure and other related aspects also. We'll keep a close watch on all the developments here and come back again tomorrow with a different topic. Till then, keep watching Sunset Television. Thank you.